Hey everybody, it's Jake with J&K Tackle, and I'm a little bit under the weather today, so I figured why not head out to the garage, do something kind of fun. And we're long overdue anyways for a paint video, so why not? I'm gonna be working on the brand new Bronco Chub, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. So make sure to leave a comment below, let us know. Stay tuned, and we'll get to it. All right, so first things first, like usual, we'll start off with our primer white. And we're gonna give the center a nice coating. We wanna see all the little sparkles go away. For those of you that are curious, I've changed up my gun to an Iwata Eclipse. And the reason why I did this was because I actually believe that the design is a little bit better on the nozzle. If I could show you, you can't really see the needle poking out from the nose, and it's also enclosed in this little capsule here, which prevents bending by quite a bit. And I abuse my guns quite a lot because I'm painting with them every single day. This has held up really well. The flow is really well, honestly, it's probably better than the Badger was. But I can get pretty much everything through this gun without any issues, and it's sped up my working process quite a lot. So, all right, now that we have that primed, I'm gonna let this dry, and then we will move on to our colors. All right, so now that that's dried, I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with a little bit of fluorescent yellow. And what I'm gonna do with the yellow is I'm gonna hit the center pretty heavy with yellow, and then I'll come across the rest of it with orange, and then I'll put a fishbone down the center. And the idea is that the yellow will kind of highlight that fishbone because it's going to be orange as well. So let's get to it. With the yellow being such a light color, it's always good to do a couple of extra coats. All right, we'll let that dry, and then we'll hit the sides with orange. All right, now that that yellow is dried, we're going to go ahead and move on to fluorescent orange. And yes, I got the big tube because we like orange a lot where we fish here in Idaho. So orange is going to go on the sides, and obviously the yellow is going to dissipate quite a bit. That's just to lighten up this orange because they're complementary colors on the same side of the wheel, and that should lighten up the center, kind of create that light effect towards the center. When I put that fishbone down, it should highlight it a little bit, and that's kind of the idea. Here we go. We'll let that dry, and then we'll see what we need to touch up. All right, so now that that first coat's dried, I'm gonna go ahead and come in again with some orange and really make sure that I get good coverage so that we've got a lot of layer protection on there. That'll help with keeping it from fading when it's in the sun for a while. And then we'll come back in the middle here with a little bit more yellow just to brighten it up just a bit more. I'm getting a lot of splatter across that yellow, which is good. So that's kind of what I was aiming for. Like I said, I abuse these things, so I like the paint to come out, and I want it to come out in high volume. Here we go. All right, I think that's good. We'll come back in the middle with a little bit more yellow, and should be done with this bit. All right, so while this is still wet, I'm gonna go ahead and come in with a little bit more yellow, and we're gonna hit this in the center, and hopefully that'll kind of bleed out just a little bit, giving us the effect that we want. All right, we'll hit that with a little bit of hot air and see how it looks. So now that we've got everything nice and dry and we've got that nice blend, as you can see, it's still very orange, still very Bronco, but we have that nice blended lighter yellowy orange to a much darker orange on the sides. Now we're gonna go ahead and hit this with glow in the dark, which is one of the little secrets that I like to keep for myself since I do run a business. I can tell you that if you decide to start working with glow, good luck. You know, the powdered stuff is probably not the direction I would go personally, but definitely give it a shot, see what works best for you. But this is a good combination of what I've got, and let's get this going. We're gonna go on pretty thick with the glow in the dark stuff. We'll get it nice and coated, and then we'll let that dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so now that this is all dried with the glow in the dark, I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with one of the fish bones, and then we're gonna select an eye. Now, typically I go with like a silver eye or a gold eye because I can get those in large quantities, but since I'm doing just a small batch of these for the first go, I'm probably gonna select one of these more orangey or maybe one of the yellowy rainbow ones. I think this one here though. And we'll get those on. All right, we got our eyeball picked out. And we're gonna put it right at the top of the yellow here. And next up will be the fish bone. I recommend hooking it up on the top and then kind of get it lined up with where you want it. Voila. That adds a pretty cool effect. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this unwrapped and then we'll get it UV coated and we'll check it out. All right, we're all lollipopped up. Get it in the oven.